Hey everyone, Gooey here. I just wanted to let you know that you can get episodes of this podcast early and ad-free while supporting us for as low as $1 over on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/flashback64. Enjoy the show. Nintendo. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I'm Gooey, joined as always by McKenna.
Hello.
Hey McKenna, we're talking about Yoshi some more, pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And we've got some great guests for this episode on Yoshi's story. Returning to the show, you may remember him from most recently our Best of the SNES episode, and you may know him from Retro Game Books. We are welcoming back Brian Riggsbee. Brian, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
We've had you on to talk SNES. We've talked about some Genesis games, but we finally got you on to talk about a N64 game proper. So appreciate you coming back to the show.
Yeah, and this is one I played as a kid, so looking forward to it.
Perfect. Awesome. We also have a brand new guest joining us for this episode. He's a writer and critic. You may know him from Pop Matters, NPR, and a bunch of other places. We are welcoming to the show Luis Aguasvivas. Luis, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you for saying my name beautifully. Usually
thank you.
That's a point of contention. I'm excited to be on here. I've listened to the pod a few times, and I really like the vibe, as you know, the younger generation says. So, and excited to talk about a game actually that I've never played until actually recently for this podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Yeah, it's great to have you on. You know, I'm a big fan actually of both of your appearances, Brian and Luis, on Pixels and Polygons, our pal Darren's show. So it's great to have you both on here to talk. Okay, so yeah, Luis, you hadn't played the game we're talking about, but what was your relationship with the N64 like?
It was a troubled relationship I had with Nintendo's N64. I know that it's a console that's very much beloved, especially in the United States. I was not an N64 person. I was a PlayStation kid. You know, boo, but you know it.
No, we welcome them, the PlayStation kids here.
That's what my father bought me, you know, so that's what I played. A lot of my cousins did have a N64, so you know, I played Ocarina of Time, Smash Brothers, you know, all the well-loved classics. That's partly why I've never played Yoshi's Story. Also, I played Donkey Kong 64 on the 64, and after that, I was like, no more.
It broke you. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's great. We welcome, you know, like Darren Hupke, we welcome all PlayStation kids here as well. Brian, I think we've got you on record, like I said, Genesis and Super Nintendo, but what was your transition into the next generation of consoles like?
Yeah, when it came to the 64, I was a little hesitant when I saw some of the magazine pictures and such. I thought, this early 3D just doesn't look very good. I didn't have the foresight to think that, 3 generations from then it's going to be great, or I didn't know. I just thought this looks not that great. And I wasn't thinking about the fun factor, the story, etc. I was in a Blockbuster and they had Mario 64. This is very early on one of those playable kiosks. I'm like, well, I'm here. I might as well play it. And actually, in just a couple of minutes, I felt really hooked. I'm like, I saw past the look and the aesthetic of it. And then I started to actually enjoy the aesthetic, because when you see these things in motion, it's very different than a fuzzy picture in a magazine, which, you know, we didn't have the YouTube and everything like that back then. So you didn't get that experience until you actually held it in your hands. And it wasn't too long after that I had an N64. I was playing Mario all the way through, getting all the stars, and then eventually playing, the classics like the Zeldas, and then a lot of the wrestling games actually are some of my favorites too.
Oh yeah, I love the wrestling games. Mario 64 seems like the game that could win you over to it. Great launch game. We can get into, I want to talk about Yoshi's story, but on the show, we also do a little segment, our flashback segment, where we kind of let people know what was going on at the time, kind of drop you in a little bit of pop culture, maybe some history. So we're going to continue with that. The last episode we did, or last games we covered were Jeopardy and NHL Breakaway 98, which came out February 25th, 1998. In North America, and we're moving up to March 10th, 1998. And guys, we have been our podcast goes through like different eras, and right now we're in the Titanic era, where Titanic is dominating all forms of popular culture. It's been like the number one movie for 8 weeks in a row, actually 12 weeks in a row. The album the soundtrack album was 8 weeks in a row at number one, with Let's Talk About Love by Celine Dion at number 2. And of course, My Heart Will Go On was a hit single for a long time, but it actually was finally dethroned in our timeline by Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith. So if anyone had the power to kind of fight back against Titanic, it was probably Big Willie. Luis and then Brian, just what do you have memories of the Titanic era?
Yeah, I still have nightmares about the Titanic era. Yeah, just that brick of a VHS box, which was like 4 VHSs, like for that. I remember somebody at school actually got beat up with one of those. It was mesmerizing. It was violent, terrifying, but mesmerizing at the same time. So the power of the Titanic, right? It's probably the same. It felt like when it saw like the iceberg, it's like just couldn't stop looking. It was horrible, but couldn't stop looking. No, in all seriousness, I mean, yeah, I watched the movie when it came out just because everybody was watching it, and I mean it. But in retrospect, I don't really like it that much. I do like Getting Jiggy With It. And just like a side note, so I lived in West Africa for a bit, and Celine Dion is huge there. I'm talking about like right now, Celine Dion is a goddess there. Like here, she's like, oh yeah, Titanic. There she's like the greatest voice of all time. It's really funny.
Wow.
Yeah. And people were just like, they'll have like, Afro beats or whatever, like, traditional music they listen to on their phone, and just randomly Celine Dion.
All the albums, the French language albums and everything.
Yeah. Oh, especially in Francophone West Africa. Yeah, the French. Oh, they go crazy. They're like, oh, English and French she can sing. Incredible.
That's beautiful. Okay, Brian, how about you? Were you a big Titanic fan?
I mean, not like a big fan, no. But I saw it in the movie theaters with some friends. That's the thing you do, right? I mean, movie theaters were the thing to do on a weekend, right? So yeah, we saw it. I remember thinking this Billy Zane guy is actually probably deserves a little more credit in this movie than the rest. Wasn't he the bad guy?
Billy Zane? Yes. The antagonist. He's phenomenal.
Wasn't that bad. He just wanted to get on that lifeboat before the women and children. They made him very evil. And of course, I had that reaction that literally everyone had, which was, I think you could fit 2 people on this armoire in this water, but she's not making enough space. If they tried to balance it, I think they could figure it out. It always annoyed me. Like just make the prop smaller so that it's like, so you're not thinking about it. But yeah, it's fine. I never needed to see it again. It was fine.
Did you see the experiments that James Cameron did to prove that it was valid?
I heard about Neil deGrasse Tyson calling him out for, the stars not lining up the way they would for that time of year and all that stuff. I don't know if he ever went back and George Lucas did or not.
Oh, fix the sky? That would be amazing if that's the only thing he did. I love the idea of the power of the Titanic, not only like the cultural power, but its power as like a bludgeoning weapon, the VHS box. So that's great to hear.
Iceberg, right ahead!
A couple games that came out in this time period too. You had Wario Land 2 for the Game Boy and Dead Ball Zone for the PS1. I have no idea what that game is. I didn't even look into it, but yeah, that's what we got. Let's see. Okay, and I have two kind of like, I don't want to bring it down here too much on the Yoshi story episode, but I have kind of like two bummer things that kind of still like speak to problems today, and then one that's like kind of a cool sort of fact. So February 28th was when the first big study came out that has since been like discredited and everything, but the first big study that was trying to link vaccines to autism. This was in early '98. I believe it was in Lancet. Andrew Wakefield published this, and yeah. So that's one thing that I feel like it's been called one of the most. It was one of the most destructive hoaxes of the 20th century, I believe it was called, and that we still see today. And then also March 3rd, Bill Gates testified before Congress about Microsoft's potential monopoly in computer software. And actually later that year was when like a big antitrust case was brought against Microsoft that wasn't settled until like 2001. But yeah, I feel like Microsoft monopolizing industries is maybe still relevant to today. But to send you home with maybe something that's just kind of cool, March 2nd, data sent from the Galileo spacecraft indicates that Jupiter's moon Europa has a liquid ocean under a thick crust of ice. So those are always, we like when the fun space facts come by.
Yeah, space is cool.
Space is cool. That's our official stance. Yeah. Okay, Brian, what do you think you were doing around this time? Were you...
Well, I did the math. I was 16, so I was, feeling a little more free driving a car around. Our sleepy city is one of those things where everyone gets in the car and tries to find something to do, although still we're pretty bored. I was probably still skateboarding a little bit, definitely playing video games, playing guitar, just all the things 16-year-old boys do.
Were you stoked when you found out about the liquid ocean?
I don't know if that news even hit me, to be totally honest. I do like space, but I don't think I was plugged in at the time.
It did make me want to go back and like watch stuff about I watch all that stuff about the planets and marvel at it and then forget everything like a day later. So, Luis, how about you? What do you think you were doing early '98?
No, just playing a lot of baseball. That's what I was really doing. Playing a lot of baseball, frolicking about in the concrete jungle. That's pretty much. I wasn't playing that many video games, really. Yeah, actually thinking about that. Yeah, it really wasn't. It was, even though I had a PlayStation, I didn't play that much. It was really, once you had the next console generation, I got a GameCube and a PlayStation 2, and that was the end.
That hooked you. That was it. Okay. We know what we were up to early 98.
This is like a month before my 3rd birthday.
Yeah, so we're seeing, I was 8. So we're trying to see when we get to the point where McKenna has memories of what was going on. We'll get there.
Probably nothing about the world going on around.
Yeah,
definitely not talking about Europa.
Yeah, you
3-year-old.
You're like, what do you think about the Bill Gates testimony that he gave?
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Yoshi's Story is a platformer where the world has been locked in a storybook, and the Yoshis must reclaim the super happy tree from Baby Bowser. They will have to go through 6 pages of this storybook world, choosing from one of 4 levels on each page if you've unlocked them. Rather than reaching the end of the level, the goal is to eat 30 fruits. As in their previous adventure in Yoshi's Island, the Yoshis can flutter jump, ground pound, swallow enemies, and throw eggs. Newly added is the ability to sniff suspicious places to discover things. The game has a smile meter that indicates Yoshi's happiness or health, and you'll have to eat tasty fruits and enemies to keep it high. If Yoshi eats something he doesn't like, the smile meter will eventually start to frown, and if he gets hit while it's frowning, he'll be taken away to the castle. You'll then have to choose a different Yoshi to play as. Make it to the final page of the storybook and take down Baby Bowser to retrieve the super happy tree and restore happiness to the world.
Okay, so yeah, Yoshi's Story. It was released in Japan December 21st, 1997. So a few months behind we are. Not unusual there. So Brian, you said you had some nostalgic memories, as you were playing this stuff coming up. You said you played this. What do you remember about playing this game back when it came out?
Yeah, so like I said, I was 16. I think this was one of those games where I just kind of played it start to finish, although we'll get into it, right? It's not just like a start to finish kind of game. There's branches, there's different ways to play this game. But I remember getting my fill of it probably within like a week or something, and then never coming back to it. And I enjoyed it, but I felt like it kind of served its purpose. And that's true for most games, you kind of have those moments. It wasn't something I ever came back to until today. And then the things I definitely remember about it, and really the memories that came flooding back the most was, well, first of all, the visual style, right? Like you mentioned, the storybook aesthetic. It's a type of game that it's just cuteness overload. And this kind of like everything stitched together, hand-drawn, cardboard cutout kind of look. It was pretty novel for the time. We've seen this done since then, but back then it felt new and original. Back then it was like, you do 2D sprites perfectly. Now we're moving into 3D. Everything's very polygons and flat and kind of like, right? But this, like, it had this painterly, childlike quality to it. Like someone actually made it and you're inside the story. It's not just a storybook kind of theme. You really feel like you're in it. And then, all that cuteness, like it comes together in other ways too, right? It's the idle animations, it's the way the Yoshis sing together, and they don't quite harmonize, which actually like makes it that much more like cute, for lack of a better word. And like I remember, I'm like, I know this song. I'm already humming it before it even goes through a full iteration of the song. Like even the things they say are cute. Although I had forgotten about all the dialogue and the story. The story's kind of like whatever. It's just kind of there to pull you all together, but it's still fun. Yeah. Like one quote I wrote down, they said, they met Cloud and Candy, cotton candy, kind of, right? Who was mean, but tasted sweet. You're like, okay, that's cute. I like that. But yeah, like, and I remembered like, you could do stomp jumping and you could shoot. Like, I didn't have to look up the controls. Like, it all was pretty much there in my head. Although part of that is because we're used to some of those mechanics from some of the other Mario games, etc. But yeah, I mean, all those things were there. It already kind of clicked for me right when I jumped in there.
We talked about Yoshi's Island previously, and like the controls for Yoshi have become so like standardized that you kind of whatever game you're picking up, like Smash or whatever, you kind of know how Yoshi is supposed to behave now. I feel like so. Mm-hmm. I can understand that like memory you're saying, like where you might have only played it once or something. I was trying to recall if this was a game that I had rented or if it was one that I owned, because I definitely remembered playing it. I remembered like reading the manual, like when we were flipping through the manual, I was like, I remember like this piece of art and this stuff. But I don't remember like playing it a ton. So I feel like it could have been a rental, and I feel like it's the perfect game to play like, in one sitting basically, or a weekend. But yeah, I probably was like you where I played it and I never touched it. Luis, you said like you hadn't played this game. I asked you, what games were you interested in playing and or talking about, and you mentioned Yoshi's Story. So I was wondering what called to you about this game? What made you want to go check it out?
I mean, it's the only side-scrolling Yoshi game that I've never played. So I played Yoshi's Island, right? Super Mario World 2. It's like one of my favorite games as a kid, and it holds up to this day. And then I didn't play Yoshi's Story, but then I played Yoshi's Woolly World and then Crafted World, which I think are also excellent. So it's always like this missing link, that Yoshi chain, right? So I definitely that's what interested me. It's one of those games that has like a weird reputation online where some people say that it's not very good. Obviously I take all that like with a grain of salt, but I think most Nintendo games feel like it's fine, right? That's like a lot of the reception in hindsight for a lot of people. But I tend to really like those type of games where usually like the general like audience reception is and
find something good in them.
Yeah, and I was surprised playing this. It was really, I don't know if I would have liked it as a kid, especially at that age, and the time it came out, because it is a fairly short game. And I think at this time I was fully on board with, especially, me coming from a working class, like poor family. It's like, if you buy a game, you want that game. That might be the only game you get for months, if not, maybe for like the whole year. So you want that to last. This is a game that, my playthrough of this was like an hour and like 20 minutes. And I didn't do everything. I know everything probably would be like closer to like 4 hours, like doing every stage and everything and trying like the trial mode. But yeah, it's definitely, as Brian was saying, the game is like super charming. And this is, Yoshi's Island was the first time that I encountered what you can call like a similar aesthetic, right? A similar style where things are hand drawn, or use, almost like art supplies, right? Like children's like art supplies on this. This one follows that, and to a certain degree does it better in the sense that obviously the technology is just more advanced. There's like more you can do with it. And I wonder if that was part of the reason too why the game might be so short too, right? It's like they're trying with all these like new like assets, because it is a game that like it looks really good comparatively. It's also like a 2.5 like dimensions on. It's not really like a 3D game, but a lot of games during this time they do not age very well. This one you put it up and it's like the shape makes sense. It's like oh, this is what this is. It's really charming. But I think it has a tinge of melancholy though. That name Super Happy Tree is just too like in your face. So I'm gonna say something controversial here. One of many controversial statements I'm gonna have during this podcast. And Yoshi's, they're a cult, clear cult. It's very
what
clear.
Makes you why the accusation?
So people keep referring to Yoshi as like this one thing. It's like any Yoshi. It's just they're all Yoshi. You don't know like what Yoshi is Yoshi. It's like it's not like a one thing. It's like a multi-cell organism, these Yoshis.
We are
together.
Yoshi.
Exactly. It's like the Borg, right, from Star Trek. And when
Thank you. Yeah.
And this song, when they do like this, like the song, it's cute and it's charming, but then it's also kind of sinister and like a culty, like millenarian, like religious sense. Like they go into this hymn, after this, and you're just like, trying to get the super happy tree. So it's a lot of, obviously I'm reading a lot into this, but it's, I got that sense when I was playing.
What do you think they're saying when they're singing? Like, what do you think that word is that they're singing.
I don't know what they're saying. It's just the feeling comes across. The feeling of this this longing for like their tree, right? Because essentially what they're looking for is home, right? Because the tree is like the main aspect that makes like their island, like their place, right? Like home. Obviously, it's probably also like where they get most of like their nourishment and food. So like I understand that material condition. All of us can, but it really like it really. When I was playing it, it reminds me. I don't know how familiar all of you are with like foundational myths of like countries. There's a few countries that have like foundational myths of like this return or this like getting something. Mexico's one of them, actually. If you see like the flag, I'll have to say it out for listeners out there. So the Mexican flag, in the middle of the flag, there's like a eagle on top of a cactus holding a snake. And so the Mexica, which, you know, we know them as like the Aztecs, right? So they come from northern Mexico, southern United States now, like that area there. So in their myth and foundational myth, it's like, oh, you have to wander until you find this eagle on top of a cactus holding a snake, and then you're home. You found home, you know. So, and they found it, and that's like the foundational myth, and that's in the place now that's like Mexico City. And when I was playing, I was like, man, these Yoshis just trying to find this tree to like reestablish home, etc. You know, I just kept thinking about that.
What do you think the Yoshi foundational myth, like what place is it for? Like Yoshi's Island?
I think it's the tree. It's that tree. It's specifically it's nourishing tree, right? That provides them with this delicious fruit. You know, it's somebody from the Caribbean. I'm down for that. You know, if I'm gonna create a religion / cult, you know, a tree that produces endless amount of happy fruit, you know, that's pretty solid. You know, you got me there. Like if you would stop me on the street here in New York, which, you know, you have a lot of people talking a lot. That's one thing I would stop. Even if I'm busy, I'm like, wait, say that again. Saying like
even for the clipboards.
Yeah, it's like, wait, watermelon, like pineapple, like, and just cut and you just like eat it, and it's like okay, tell me more. You know, Yoshis are adorable though, so it works.
I love that as like I think a tree is probably like one of the best things to like form your sort of like beliefs and myths off of, for sure. Like, got to be like number one.
Super happy.
I would say
super happy tree. So it's like next level.
McKenna, did you get any sinister vibes from the game?
Mostly from the Yoshis being taken away. I mean, it only happened a couple times, but Yoshi being taken away to the castle and not appearing on the start screen after that. Like, what happened to him? What are they doing with him at the castle?
It did feel like it was like Nintendo trying to be like, we're not killing them, but it somehow
but
made
gone.
Yeah, it made it more sinister.
Yeah, it's just left to the imagination.
Brian, how about you? Any sinister vibes from the game?
I mean, not when I was playing it, but the more we talk about it, I mean, one thing I'll comment on that was just said is, you know, like when they're singing, there is always something about like when you have like high pitch singing and it's like in harmony, especially like when you have like a chorus of like little children singing. Like, I don't know if it's inherent in us that that's creepy, or if it's because like horror movies have trained us to think these things are disturbing in some way. But, you know, it is like a fine line between cute and creepy.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like we've actually played some games that give me that more so. Like Chameleon Twist is this one game we played that I don't know if you guys know it, but like that one I feel like verged more on the like too cute or like disturbingly cute in a weird way. This one walked the line pretty well for me. I like what you're like. I agree with what you guys were saying about the visual style. And it's cool. Like, I feel like this, because Yoshi's Island, it kind of stands out a little bit more on its own. And I feel like it is maybe even more of a timeless style because of like the, you know, sort of the, I don't know how to describe it, like the crayon nature to it all, flat and 2D, whereas like this, it it's a little bit more, it's a tad bit more rough around the edges. It's like like a lot of these early kind of transitions into 3D or 2.5D were, but McKenna, I think you might agree, we've been playing chronologically. I think it's in the upper tier of like games we've played, like visually and like, yeah, just aesthetically.
I think playing it right after Yoshi's Island, it makes it look just a little unpolished in comparison. The Yoshi's Island just looks so good. But if you're comparing it to other Nintendo 64 games, it's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of N64 games that look pretty rough, and this isn't even close to this. Kind of blows a lot of them out of the water.
Yeah, we've had games that give us like headaches to play.
Very stylish too.
Yeah, I mean, 16-bit is just the pinnacle of 2D sprite-based art. It's hard to compare. The thing, though, I will applaud them for, I think this is like what you're talking about here, is that they could have gone full 3D with this, right? Most games did. When they transitioned, they felt probably obligated to do so. We could have had Castlevania version of Yoshi instead. And sorry if you love those games, that's fine. I don't. And that's what, imagine if you're like, oh, like instead of a whip, it's the tongue. You're trying to just target things. There's too much space between everything because everything has to be big. It's 3D, and big 3D, early 3D looks kind of bad often, especially when you're trying to add details that you can't handle. So keeping it flat, I mean, was probably the best they could do. But yeah, I mean, they weren't going to do a 16-bit style game. I just but that would have looked better in the end. People just would have been like, wait, what is this? I just bought the N64. So like they had to do something. They had to do these 3D transitional things that actually those look pretty cool. The storybook flapping around and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a little muddier looking than its predecessor.
Yeah. I mean, we've only, I think, covered one other game on the N64 so far that was 2D. And it's actually one of the best looking games as well, which was Mischief Makers.
I was about to say, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That stands out.
Yeah, we bring that comes up almost every time we talk about 2D to 3D. Is like I feel like reading a lot of reviews at the time of games, like they would kind of go a bit harder on a game just for being 2D, so you kind of get it. But I'm glad they sort of stuck to it here. They gave it a 3D feel, but you're still playing like a 2D sprite, basically moving around. So yeah, I think aesthetically, it's still really strong. I like what we were talking a little bit about the story and the storybook. Like I think that presentation really elevates it too. It looks really good. The story itself, I think I got more out of it with what you were just explaining, Luis, about your theory about it being like a foundational myth. Like I think that speaks to me more than anything like in the actual game. But I thought it was cute how they presented it and how it had like a little rhyme scheme and like they would read a different thing for the storybook depending on what level you did. So it kind of, I don't know, it kind of made it unique. But like, yeah, I couldn't tell you what the story is other than get the tree back, but I don't think any of us were coming to a Yoshi game for like a deep involved story or anything, so yeah. I think that's okay,
and it doesn't have to be. And I stand on the corner of Miyamoto-san, where it's like I'm not a big story in games person. Just like a personal preference. So this to me is more than serviceable. So this is completely like fine. I mean, I personally find this to be like riveting. It's like, all right, they took your source, you have to go find it. The game does all these like really snappy and like creative like ways of like adding like more story. As we were talking like earlier, like how Yoshi's like disappear, right? Like, and you essentially don't have them for like your playthrough, right? And there's like different ways where that becomes like very obvious like to you. And yeah, the rhyming, it does a lot with environmental storytelling, right? It's like a lot of people like say, right? Like it's in a book, it becomes this book, but then the game's also like it is a story. It's Yoshi's story. It's great, and the visual like aesthetic and its presentations have now become synonymous with Nintendo, right? Good Feel Co, which is now one of like their main partners, like all the games that they've made, with them. You're talking about stuff like Kirby's Epic Yarn, the other like Yoshi games like Crafted World and Woolly World, and even what's that? What's the Wii WarioWare one? Wario Land Shake It, which is like completely cartoon. It's not necessarily like doesn't use materials, but it's like this. It's like owning in on hand-drawn animation, where in a time where these things were not necessarily what the industry was like going for, and a lot of critics and even a lot of consumers like weren't really like gravitating for. And kudos to Nintendo for for always like going, they always have this niche position where they can like just do things, and even if it doesn't like land, it's not it doesn't like completely destroy them.
Yeah, riveting is a good word. Like there are times where it's like you see something and it's like something from real life, like a spring or something, and the effect is really kind of primitive, but you go and you like jump on the spring and it does the little thing, and I don't want to say it's like immersive, but it's just cool to like interact with like real life objects, like simple objects like that, and see the spring or whatever go off. I think you kind of said here, McKenna, how the story actually works, but we were talking about I think it was everybody kind of mentioned that it has kind of a short length to it, and while I think overall, even considering like the amount of levels and everything, it's pretty short, I do like that it kind of it encourages you to kind of replay and explore the various levels, because you have to actually like hunt out the hearts in each level to have a wider selection of levels each time you go through it. It almost makes like a lot more of the levels. I don't know if you felt this way, McKenna, but they were a little bit more like the maze type levels in Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, just the fact that your end goal is eating the fruits and not to reach an end point.
That's interesting too.
It can make the level much shorter if you know exactly where you're going, or if you're trying to get all of the collectibles or going for a certain fruit, it can be longer.
Yeah, that's
sometimes I was like, oh, I've gotten all the fruits, I wonder like how much more of this level there was.
And sometimes it's like there's a balance where it's like, okay, well, I want to make sure I eat enough to stay healthy and like I can beat the level, but I also want to like explore further or like see what things do. So you have to like, it's not like that tough, but you sort of have to like be a little bit strategic with what fruits you eat. And of course there's like each Yoshi has like a favorite fruit and stuff like that. So
and the lucky fruit.
You roll a new fruit each time. The game's sort of a rogue-like, you know what I mean? Like you're doing a run, rolling fruits. There's not much else to it that makes it like that, but it's a buzzword, so I thought I'd throw it on there. Brian, when you're going through, do you have like a fruit collecting strategy, or do you just go all out and get whatever you see, or what was your gameplay?
I'm one of those players. I'm more like the latter, where I'm just like, I see it, I have to grab it. It's like it's right there, I have to, regardless of if it's the favorite fruit or not. And actually, like to what you two were just speaking to, like I see that as like a good and bad dynamic of the game, right? Good, because it does add replay value. It does give you choices and some feeling of autonomy. But bad, at least for me, in the sense of like, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't know. Did I see 80, 90% of the level? I'm not even sure, right? Unless I have like a map in front of me, a guide in front of me, which I don't. And so I'm left wondering, like, is it worth going back in? Like, is there some secret area? Because there's some secret kind of spaces you can, they're hard to access and it feels rewarding to access them. Is there something like that? that makes it worth my time to completely replay that level. And I'm left like not knowing, and like sometimes the unknown is what is enjoyable in exploration, but in this case it feels a little more like a penalty, a slight penalty, not like a big deal, but like again, like as a kid and as an adult, I still like I had similar feelings where I'm like, I'm probably not going to go back to that level. Like maybe if the collectible elements or there was something more to it, that made it a little more compelling for me. But I will say though, I do like this idea of like the objective is get a certain amount of fruit. It's not to hit a certain point. And I do like that autonomy. I do like the freedom it gives you.
Mhm.
That's a pretty cool thing. Because that, not very common. Again, they're trying to do some novel things here as much as they can.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different than like in Yoshi's Island. It tells you like what percent do you need to do. So if you're more of a like you want to be a completionist, you have the stats to know. Whereas like, I mean, Yoshi in this game, they throw a bunch of numbers at you because you can like, depending on the fruits you eat, like your mood will go higher, and I guess you get different. I looked up, you get different endings depending on your mood, but they seemed kind of inconsequential. But yeah, I can see like how that would be hard if you're like, well, what else do I have to do? But I think it's kind of cool because it's created like I think in the years going on, like now you see there's like speedrunners and all these different categories based on different things, and one is the fruit. We were actually watching McKenna someone do it was all melon run of the game, which is like the most rare fruit in the game. I guess there's only like, I think in most levels like exactly enough to beat the level getting all melons, and when you beat it, doesn't really do anything other than show a little melon graphic instead. So it's sort of like a little Easter egg, but it was cool to see like that person was going ham on that speed run.
Yeah. I see speed runs and I'm like, what are you doing?
I cannot comprehend what they're doing. Yeah.
It would have been cool though if they had baked in some achievements tied to things like that, although I know achievements weren't really a big deal back then, but it could have added replay value. It's like achievements are just these arbitrary goals. You could just, like a speedrunner, write down whatever goal you want, but there's something about when it's hard-coded into the game, it somehow is more meaningful. You know what I mean? Like when I'm like, I have this checklist, I'm actually doing it, so I'm going to do it now because now it's actually part of the game, versus like, I don't know, maybe if a friend at the time was like, I bet you can't do this. Sure, maybe. But again, not super common at the time to have all these little extra bits. It was more about like, do you want to challenge yourself? Do you want to do it differently? Yeah,
I can see they were like, just get a higher score was really all they were thinking of, because they do have
the score error, which is crazy. I thought we were done with it by then.
I do like calling it mood. That's fun. And I do like that, like you have sort of a leaderboard when you go into like the challenge courses or whatever. You can just select whatever one you want to do, and I like that aspect of it, that there's like a leaderboard. Not that like we're probably never going to utilize that because we're not very competitive with each other, but I like the concept of it. The cartridge we have has some scores on it, and I was like, when I beat some, I was like, yeah, take that, Bob, if you were really even a real person. But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cool the way they handle the fruit. I don't know, I kind of like a little bit of like an unknown factor when you're going into it, but
I like that the mood keeps with the like almost invincible Yoshi. Like Yoshi doesn't really die. He didn't die in Yoshi's Island unless he fell off of something. He wasn't harmed by enemies.
Right, they definitely had to think of something different than like Baby Mario is taken away. So they're like, we'll take you away.
Yeah. And
I do like the meter for it is like the smiley face. It gets like sadder. So that's fun. That's creative. What about, okay, we talked about, Yoshi's got all these abilities that most people are pretty familiar with right now. But this one added a new one that I don't think we've seen in... I've played the other Yoshi games. I don't recall this. Luis, you're a fan. Do you remember Sniff being in other games? Can you sniff in most Yoshi games?
I don't remember ever using it. I didn't even use it in this one, actually.
No, okay. Well, that's for the real, treasure hunters. You could sniff and it would tell you if you were like near a secret, which makes people who are looking for those melons, it's like a great feature for that. Poochie would usually even point you to them a little bit. So,
well, yeah, that is something that because they did a re-release of Yoshi's Woolly World with Poochie for the 3DS. Yeah, and Poochie can sniff for stuff. So, but I mean, Poochie's kind of sort of here, kind of sort of. He's just sometimes pops up. A good dog. Good. Wait, is it a dog? What is Poochie?
I mean, if Poochie is not a dog, I mean, I feel like that name is exclusive for dogs.
Well, yeah. Is it a thing where it's like, because we were talking about, is Yoshi, is it a Yoshi? Or, I mean, they also say Yoshi's a dinosaur, but also Yoshi might be a Yoshi, like a Yoshi. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. You have any theories?
I assume dog, but maybe he's a Poochie.
He might be a Poochie, yeah. He's definitely got there's not much for Poochie going on in this compared to they didn't really use him for any like fun like sort of platforming challenges as far as I can recall. It was usually just like he's telling you where to go. He's sniffing out hints, but yeah, maybe a downgrade for Poochie, I would say.
No, don't say that. No. Just the fact that there's a character like that and its name it's Poochie, that's automatic winner. Just say that 3 times really fast. It's like amazing.
Poochie.
See? Yeah, it's fun.
Feels good, honestly.
Yeah, it's incredible name. Whoever named that, that's a statue. That's a statue for somebody. Poochie, created Poochie. That's for that person.
We talked a little bit about like kind of how the lives work, but where you choose like a different Yoshi to play as. That is a cool like mechanic. Brian, do you have like do you just pick the first one that comes up, or do you have like a go-to Yoshi?
I had a little bit of logic to it, but not much. I mean, it was like I gotta be green first, start with the classic.
Okay.
And then it was like, I'll just kind of mix it up. And I was trying to think like, oh, what color is this level gonna be so I can have some contrast? But it's like there's enough contrast. It's not a big deal. You were just mentioning one of the controls is sniffing. There's actually, if I can mention, like there's a lot of like really cool mechanics and controls in this game. And I also have one criticism, if I can insert it into the conversation. So like the double jump is so fun. Like there's something so cool about how Yoshi goes up and then kind of goes down and then kind of goes up again and ultimately breaks that original threshold for like that additional jump, and you can kind of control how much you want to do. There's something like just really cool about that. It's interesting. It's like almost like Mario 2's Luigi jump, but like, with the flailing legs and everything. And it's just fun and it works. It actually like is usable. You can pan the camera like up and down and stuff if you want to get like a better view of your space. So even more important when we're pre-widescreen era, right? When you don't see as much, perhaps. It's an excuse to slow the game down a little bit too, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, Yoshis get their eggs and they fire them and stuff. But it's also cool that you could get things that were not eggs as ammo. And if nothing else, like the aesthetic variety it offers, I think is kind of nice, so that just like you get a different look. The downward jump we talked about, right? You have to have that. Quick a story there. Like my brother, like around this time, got a dog and he named him Yoshi. And I was like, it was around like 2002. I got a cell phone. I was a little bit of a holdout. And I figured out how you could change the text message sound on it, like one of those early sound. It's easy now, but it was kind of a mystery back then. And I've had that downward butt drop sound effect for whenever my brother texts me. Since then, it's still that way on my iPhone today. And so when I heard that sound in the game, I'm like, that's where the sound's from, because it all came full circle for me. So that's another nostalgia hit, which is nice. Okay, but now for my criticism. And tell me if you agree or not, but And maybe this was by design, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's about adding a little bit of a challenge to the game. But like I felt Yoshi is just like kind of slippery for my taste. Like I wish they had dialed back the slippery factor by like 25%. And I get that like if you control the analog stick a little more gently, you can kind of avoid, like jumping, landing on a platform without doing a slip and slide because you have a little more precision. But I always found it difficult to have that type of precision with the N64 controller because the analog stick is not really built for subtlety the way that they kind of mastered in the PS2 and beyond era. So I just found myself, I'm like, I feel like I'm good at platforming, but for some reason I'm struggling to land on these narrow platforms in a way that I could do in Mario 1 on a single Mario width platform, no problem. Again, maybe by design, maybe that's okay. Maybe the game would be too much of a breeze otherwise, but I found it to be a little bit frustrating. At least in this replay, I cannot recall how I felt originally.
I do have a question about that. How did everybody play it? Did they? 'Cause I played it on the on Nintendo Switch Online, and that is something that I noticed about it. And I was trying to think, is it maybe like just the not that great like emulation? Maybe it's like a lag, which I noticed at times, or if actually like the game actually controlled that way back when it came out.
It felt so. We played it both on Nintendo Switch Online, but I played a good amount of it on N64, and it felt like a little bit more pronounced on Nintendo Switch Online, even using the N64 controller, but it was definitely like that sort of feeling was definitely still there as well on N64, where it felt like, and I remember this being a thing in a lot of like you'd see it in the Mario 64 manual as well. They really emphasize like you want to push down farther to go, like they were trying to have that subtlety like you mentioned, Brian, but like it wasn't all there yet. And I actually had kind of like the reverse problem where sometimes to like get Yoshi going, I was like, oh, I really gotta like jam this thing like the right way to like get him moving. And at first it was kind of hard to adjust to initially compared to running on Yoshi's Island. But in terms of like landing and stuff, I think for me, it felt a little bit easier. I think because we played it like right after we played Yoshi's Island, which I think is just in general a bit more of like a demanding platformer, whereas this game's a bit more easygoing. So it just like by comparison felt a little bit more easygoing. But I can definitely see like the controls specifically with the analog stick might give trouble. McKenna, did you feel this way?
I kind of feel the same way you do with the like jumping from Yoshi's Island to Yoshi's Story. I felt like a lot of it was easier to handle, but I do remember while we were playing we did like a pass the controller thing with friends, and I remember a lot of us said like, oh, this like definitely moves differently with the analog stick.
Definitely it feels a little bit chunkier and a little bit more slippery for sure. Mm-hmm. And like the first time like I played it like this year in this year of my life, I had that feeling like for a split second I was like, is there a lag or something like that? But then I kind of got over that. So Luis, I think your feelings are not unfounded there. I think that might just be part of the game. But
I never got over like what seemed to me like a lag. Like that was, let's just say, I know that the Yoshis don't die, but I killed a lot of Yoshis.
You can get them back though, which is pretty cool. You can find there's some Shy Guys you can find. I sort of like it is a very in terms of both the like how you move through the levels of the game and how you like handle lives in the game. It does feel unique, and it does give that it kind of matches like that crafted aesthetic even too. Like it feels like when you're looking at them in that weird black void they're in. You've got like the wood floor, and it feels like you're picking your toys up off the floor to like throw them into the storybook and get going. So I like how they handled that, and they also they had even the unlockable or like the Yoshis, you could find the black Yoshi and the white Yoshi. You could also find. You did not do this, Luis?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
We had to look it up, but yeah, you can. Brian, were you able to find these guys?
I'm nodding because I'm remembering now that you say it. I'm like, oh, that's not a false memory, but I did not recall that for this playthrough. I didn't look anything up, but yeah, that I remember seeing that somewhere.
Yep, you can find a white Yoshi and a black Yoshi, in different levels, and their voices are slightly different. I think they even control better. Like I think they might. I can't remember if they move faster or jump higher, but also they can eat anything, like even the pepper that Yoshi doesn't like. So they're like a easy mode almost. So pretty cool. Yeah. Well, it's actually, speaking of the color, did you have a color you would play as, Luis, like to start off with, or you dropped a lot of Yoshis, you said?
Well, similar to Brian, like I started with green Yoshi, just even a subconscious choice because it's the one at the center of the cover, and that's the color synonymous,
the cult leader
with Yoshi. Yeah, and and then from there, then I went to like my most to least favorite color, and unfortunately for them, they all got disappeared into Bowser's castle. So, but that was really like my logic. But if I can just add something really quick about just the gameplay itself, I really I like this style of game a lot. I kind of wish there were more of these games. I mean, it seems like Nintendo's the only like AAA developer that's making anything like this still, where it's just like they're not very difficult, but there is a lot of stuff to do in the sense of, you can collect things, you can I'm thinking of stuff like obviously the most recent like Yoshi games, but even something like Princess Peach Showtime, it's just they're easy to pick up. They don't take that long for you to beat, and as somebody who reviews games for a living, sometimes those long games they kill you. So kudos, and no annoying Baby Mario screaming at you, he's
not bad. He's not bad.
That can be a lot. Sometimes I love that game. It's one of my favorites, but there's some times where you're just like, oh my god, Mario, like please take him. Just take him.
No, we're a pro Baby Mario podcast. You can't say that here. Way earlier you mentioned sort of like the reception to it, and I think that probably has a lot to do with it, especially because I'm sure probably a lot of people reviewing it at the time were, when it was first teased or talked about, like the game was called Yoshi's Island 64, and I think people were probably expecting another Yoshi's Island sort of game, which even though that game was meant to be for a younger audience, it still ramped up the difficulty, and it had a lot of levels. It was really challenging, and so I imagine like a lot of the people, especially at that time, I think like the way we talk about games now has probably evolved a bit, where like more styles of games are considered acceptable. And so yeah, I feel like this game was probably, I don't know, maybe it was too much of a kid's game or something at the time. I obviously it's short, but I think you see a lot more appreciation for it now, especially like in our friend groups, people who were growing up at the time and played this as a kid, and it's like a lot of people we know, it's like favorite game on the console or one of them because of it, because it met them when they were a child, and it was like the perfect game for them for me, I would have been 7 years old when this came out. So it was perfect. We had a fun way of playing this, which I think we had the same amount of friends. No, we had enough friends to cover all the levels except for the last one. And you each had your Yoshi that you picked, but if you died, your Yoshi was gone.
Yeah.
So it was, we took it very seriously.
Just comparing it to Yoshi's Island, it's much more. It's still a platformer, but it's much less platform focused. There are a lot of areas that are more just about finding the fruits than about getting from, one section to another, and
Is more your maybe
more mazy, more like almost dungeony.
there was no getting high, those flowers that get you high from Yoshi's Island.
Yeah,
so it's a bit
no
more
running off of platforms because of things flying in the sky, and
you were probably less stressed playing this.
oh yeah, way less stressful.
One thing though, in terms of, I will say one thing that I could see being disappointing is I do think the there's not many bosses in this, but I do think all the bosses are probably a little too easy. Like you can beat many of them in about 10 seconds, which when I was 7 probably wasn't the case, but I think the Yoshi's Island bosses offered a good challenge, but also weren't difficult, and they had kind of a cooler gimmick attached to them, where like in this I think of like the cloud boss, where it's just you just lick him a bunch and
Yeah,
he's gone.
You had to think a little bit more in Yoshi's Island.
Yes. Brian, did any of the bosses, did you even come by any of the bosses? Because you might not, depending on your run.
I feel similar to you, although I should caveat this with saying, I didn't replay through everything, but yeah, I felt the same way. Like it felt very basic, inclusive of the final boss. The final boss had a couple of forms to it, but calling it a form, it might be overstating what it is. And you didn't have to apply much strategy or thought to it. You just kind of I remember just launch. Oh, it hit him. Oh, I got lucky. I didn't even really aim that. Oh, he's already dead. Oh, there's the tree. I see it right there. I was there the whole time because it was such a quick battle. It kind of reminds me, I mean, not as basic, but like in Mario 3, a lot of the boss battles were they were a little bit thrown away, like they're a little simple. I don't know. I've never found Mario bosses to be the most elaborate, at least the classic ones, to be the most elaborate fights. And that's okay, I guess, but I would have liked more. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt the game too much for me, especially because like I said, most levels you might not even get one, but it just stuck out to me. I think because we came right from Yoshi's Island. But I don't know, Luis, any thoughts on the bosses?
Yeah, I don't mind the difficulty. I think the game offers a lot, so just the fact that the bosses are easy, it didn't really bother me. Because you can play it if you set up your run where you're essentially fighting a boss, I think in every single of the 6 chapters, or you can just go through it and the only boss you'll fight will be Baby Bowser at the end. So I think the variability when it comes to to the playthrough kind of eases that, and it fits with the game. The game should feels just really breezy, so I didn't mind it. I would have been if they were actually any harder, I probably would have been upset. I would have gone on the opposite end. It's wait, so this level is just collecting fruit, just chilling and vibing, and then out of nowhere, whatever, a puffy cloud just threw lightning and killed all my Yoshis.
That's fair. I think maybe I would be, well, this is not a big point. I would probably rate this game very high, but I think some of them, it just felt like there was, even just in terms of presentation, there was no, I wanted more pomp and circumstance a little bit. The cloud guy just shows up and goes well, it actually is funny where he's bet you can't lick me or whatever. I love when they kind of talk crap by telling you exactly how to beat them. That is fun, but it is he just kind of walks into the room and is hey.
But also that taunt, it's well, you have 2 options. It's lick or shoot eggs. It's not I think you would figure it out pretty quickly.
I shot eggs for 5 minutes and I was what am I supposed to do to this? This is impossible.
Oh, you're forgetting sniff.
Sniff. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was playing on a GameCube controller.
So, whoa!
I'm not.
We don't do that.
I'm not a gamer.
No. I like that. That tells you a lot about the game, though, that there was like a whole mechanic that you could just ignore if you wanted to. You could probably ignore a good deal. You could probably not throw eggs and get by most levels. You just go around eating stuff.
All right, let's try. No egg throwing.
That's probably a speedrun category. So
yeah, we gotta see.
This is actually the first time we get like a real voice for Yoshi. I didn't think about that, but then I recalled that in what is this? What is the sound Yoshi is like making in Mario Kart 64? Like what is that? He sounds like an alien or something.
Oh, he does say like
it's a Yoshi sound. Yeah.
In Mario Kart 64, it's like a crazy noise. I remember the boosting. It's like I can't even do it. I do think it's cool. I mean, this is kind of a known fun fact, but it's cool that Yoshi is voiced by the composer Kazumi Totaka. That's pretty sweet to like. I mean, he's so involved with like the audio aesthetic of the game, so it only makes sense. But I mean, we've talked about him on the show before. He's obviously one of the great Nintendo composers, and he actually, I guess, I want to mention just the soundtrack in general was very cool. I like how there, you had like obviously we talked about like the creepy Yoshi singing, but I liked how there would be some levels where it's like, let's remix the Yoshi song into like different styles and everything. Brian, did you have any standout tracks from the game or anything?
Oh, unironically, I think the interlude music, the creepy misharmonization is the standout song of this game.
Same.
It really is. Okay, same. How about you, McKenna?
I agree with that. We were also listening to the, what was it called? The beach one, the
Yoshi on the Beach.
Iconic. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yoshi is also cool.
The summer vibes. Yeah.
Little hip hop track on there. It's pretty sweet.
It's on the Nintendo Music app, the soundtrack. I was actually listening to it today in preparation for this, and just listening to that Yoshi interlude song, and I was just like, yep, that's that religious hymn. Mm-hmm. That's what, and when I say that, I'm not saying it's like I really do like that song, but that is something that like it brought up, when after listening to like 3,000 times.
No, I mean it is cool. Again, like we haven't gotten a lot of games like with singing in our timeline, which is, even though they're just kind of saying sounds, it's still pretty cool. It's a cool effect.
Yeah.
Definitely stands out. It does stand above, like, not all, but like a good amount of games we've played in terms of the aesthetic. So, Brian, did you have any other notes or anything else for this game you wanted to mention?
I only wrote down one more thing, which is that what I'll call the tutorial level. I mean, it felt good enough, solid enough. There's signs telling you what the mechanics are, and it lets you kind of get a taste for everything. It was fine. It was adequate. But no, I mean, other than that, actually, we talked about everything.
Nice. Well, you actually made me think of something we only just discovered watching that speedrun. Is like there's that guy in the tutorial level with the sign.
Oh yeah.
We were under the impression
you had to go like around.
You had to like butt stomp.
The path splits, and they just jumped over.
Dude just jumped over him. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I just bolt charged my way through it, like over it somehow too. The game made it seem like there was something more elaborate I was supposed to do, but I'm always somewhere where I'm like, I'm gonna bang my head against something first. Like, I'm not gonna, even if the games tell you to stealth first, I'm like, yeah, but what happens if I just run?
That's the way to be.
I'm like, what is the quickest version? I just want to know, just for the sake of knowing, and I just got over them. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, we spent not too long, but we're like, okay, you got to run to the left, and then you're like making sure you run down to the lower path to go around them. Mm-hmm. Okay, definitely too much effort put into that, probably.
I certainly went over them very quickly.
Luis, any other notes on the game?
I really appreciate its brevity, and that's something that more and more I really look to games where it's like, I can finish it within an hour or two, but then there's things I can go back to that the experience, because this is a game I can do probably like 4 or 5 playthroughs before I'm like, okay, I don't want to play this for like a long time. Which, I really, it's something that if I'm nostalgic about anything about this era is that it's like games were more like this specifically. And this is probably might be one of my favorite N64 games now. So, yeah,
that's so cool. I like that you can just play through and maybe you pick it up again in like a couple months, couple years later, and you can play and do totally different levels. Like I think that's totally awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I always wonder is how do the designers of the game, how do they play? Like once the play testing is done, like how do they actually like see the way that the quote unquote correct way, or at least like their preferred way of playing the game? And in this game, even though it's short, fairly simple, it does leave, we were alluding to this like earlier, it leads to like a lot of different ways that you can actually play the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It actually reminds me of, and we should actually shout out just some of the people behind it. But the game was directed by Hideaki Kono and produced by Takashi Tezuka, who they have a long pedigree making Mario and Zelda games. But also the level designer was Katsuya Iguchi, who was the level designer on Mario 3, Mario World, Wave Race 64, creator of the Animal Crossing series, but also was a level designer on Star Fox. And this game actually had me thinking of Star Fox 64 a little bit, because it's another short game, but you can play it and like work your way through the game, like different paths and stuff like that. So there was definitely, I think Nintendo at the time, there was something like you even see with like Mario 64, like they were trying to explore like how can you navigate through a game like at your own pace and like your own way, which was, I think, pretty sweet. Like it makes a lot of these games stand out as unique and strong, like even now. So shout out to them.
And shout out to Wave Race 64, underrated racing game, by the way.
Incredible game.
Massively.
Mm-hmm. Incredible
game.
Oh,
yeah. We're also pro Wave Race 64 podcast.
That's my favorite N64 game.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, well.
Yeah, that's great. I only had like 6 games, and that was one of them. And I loved it. I don't even like racing games, and somehow I had that and loved it.
It's the water physics. I wrote a really extensive like article on water physics, and I spent a bunch of time. I should revisit this game.
Yeah, they made it work. Like they went well above and beyond what people probably expected for the time. Yeah.
And its sequel is also amazing to Boost Storm on the GameCube. That's a fantastic game.
I will say, speaking of, just because the same composer between these games, there is a time where I think it's when your mood is like when you have like the special with your mood and the face is going crazy. They played this version of the Yoshi's Story song with like electric guitars, but it's like the same whatever MIDI guitar sound from Wave Race. So I always imagine it's like the Wave Race 64 band covering the Yoshi's theme. It always gets me pretty hyped.
That's awesome.
It's cool.
It's all in the head movement. In the body. Wait there! So it's a process. Guide with your arm. Not bad. But you gotta work on your follow-through.
Ready for a tongue lashing? Yoshi's loose with juicier levels, tastier moves, and dripping with attitude. Yoshi's Story, for the first time on N64.
I think you're getting the hang of it.
We really liked it. We had a lot of fun.
We enjoyed it, yeah.
It was fun to be nostalgic because it is a game I played with my brother when we were young, and we got to play it with my brother. So
definitely want to check out some more Yoshi games.
Yes. Oh yeah. The other ones are great, especially they have co-op and stuff. Like we could totally have a great time playing through those together.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Just to let everybody know, our next game in our timeline that we will be covering is Snowboard Kids, which we've been having a lot of fun with. Looking forward to covering that one. Brian, Luis, thank you both for coming on. We really appreciate it. Brian, we've talked about retro game books, but plug your stuff. Tell us where to find it and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So head over to retrogamebooks.com. We got all kinds of fun, colorful, historic, nostalgic books. So we got Pixel Art Metroid, the history of Rygar. We got our video game map series that covers different consoles, some custom notebooks, coloring book, more. Things that are coming up in the near future will be the third and final volume of the Super Nintendo maps series. We're reworking the design of the NES map series. So we'll have a deluxe edition. It'll be like 600 pages, glossy, hardcover, bigger format. More articles, more interviews, including a few exclusive interviews, some cool stuff in there. So stay tuned for that. And then we have 2 other books in the works. These are text-only books being written by a few authors we're working with. So Nadia Oxford is writing a book that's in the editing phase right now. It's almost wrapped up. And then there's another book that is also close to wrapping up, and it's on the history of cheating in video games. So that's going to be a fun one as well. You can find Retro Game Books on most social platforms, not the icky ones as much. At Retro Game Books. And again, it is retrogamebooks.com. Check it out.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for coming back on. Can I say I stuck a quote into that?
You can say if I just talked about it, you can talk about it.
Okay, yeah. I submitted a quote for The Legend of Zelda for the NES book, and I have the SNES Maps books, and they're amazing. They're peak, as some might say. So
and
love them.
This revamp it's something that has been highly requested. It's something I always wanted to look at because this is something that I do the design work on. And I am really, really happy and stoked with the way it's starting to come together. It's why we haven't restocked the original, because we're looking forward now. This is going to just be a huge enhancement with so much more high quality content packed in. And every single page is being completely redone.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And you know what? Throw in real quick. Speaking of cheating, I didn't play through the game multiple times to get all the levels. I did use the Game Shark code to unlock all the levels and just go through them that way. So I made it into a normal style game. Lucy shaking your head at me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Hopefully you'll come back on. And what would you like to promote?
Yeah, but first, Ryan, all those books sound awesome. I'm really excited for that. That history of cheating, I'm going to check that out. I have a lot of stuff in the works. I don't know when this is releasing, but I'll be at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. So this weekend. I'll be doing a panel with about actually video game books with Jeremy Parrish and some of the folks at Limited Run. I'll also be doing a bunch of other things there. I'll be at Anime NYC. Hopefully, it won't be too stressful. You can, if you want to check out some of my writing. So us at NPR, we just released our best games of the year so far. So that's it's a curated list. We have a lot of we try to make the list like very varied, so it's not only video games. We also have like tabletop games, and yeah, you can check my writing online wherever it is. I guess I'll say it here. It's not officially out, and I think this will be the first place I'll say it. I'm starting as a columnist for a debug magazine, so I'll be doing a column on video games and the Anthropocene. So it's like climate change. So I'm interviewing developers, both indie and some bigger developers, sharing like some thoughts on it, because that's where a lot of my work is moving towards right now. So
that sounds awesome. And also, can you send me your? You said you wrote about water physics. I would love to read about that. So
yeah, I'll share it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great to have you. We'll definitely get you back on in the future.
Really fun.
You as well, Brian. I'm glad we could get you on for a proper N64 episode. We'll get you back on, maybe talk wrestling, games, and whatever else. But yeah, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Have me for No Mercy. I'm ready.
Oh, you're down. Good job, McKenna. As always. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. You can find our stuff at flashback64.com. We're also part of the SoundStone podcast network, which you can check out at SoundStone.network. I highly recommend you check it out if you like fun games that are more breezy. Kirby Conversations has got you covered. And if you want to hear a great show that both of our guests have been on, check out Pixels and Polygons, Darren Hupke. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in Snowboard Kids.
Bye.
Bye.
The ZeldaCast is getting even bigger. Join us on patreon.com/SPNet for access to the ZeldaCast XL, the new bonus show featuring podcasting's dynamic duo, Andy Spiteri and Gooey Fame.
We're taking a new approach to do our bonus shows and giving you more of what you love, letting you get more involved in the show itself. Each month, we'll have some fun and play a few games, answer some Patreon questions, and discuss some Zelda topics on a more personal level.
Consider joining for only $4 a month, and you can ask us questions about Zelda or anything else on your mind. Let us know what topics and segments you want us to discuss, and be a part of an amazing community of Zelda fans hosted by two best friends.
The ZeldaCast XL is taking everything you love about the show and ramping it up even more. So come and hang out with us, only on patreon.com/spnet.